On today's show, the LA Clippers finally win at Intuit Dome! And they did it in a fashion that is familiar to all of us that have been Clipper fans for the last couple of years. And I emphasize the last couple of years, mainly the last 10 or so. The comeback Clips made their first appearance at Intuit. What changed and what was so horrible in that first quarter? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Comeback Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. And in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where a video of my experience at the game from the wall with fans giving their thoughts after the game will be on YouTube on the channel. And of course, Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you thought of the game. What was the biggest reason for our comeback, and how are you feeling going forward? Also, let me know what you think about Chris Paul as a Clipper and also Paul George as a Clipper while we're at it, although we'll probably have an episode on Wednesday before the game, just giving some background on why that night is going to mean so much to all of us. And this episode brought to you by Game Time, the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally won a game at Intuit Dome. And let me just say this. I was there, really solid atmosphere, given the amount of people there. So I just want to address that real quick. The attendance has not been good. We have not sold out one game. And I think part of it, and it really just got my night off to a bad start, is that they're charging $50 to $70 in the two main lots, the West and East Garage, for parking. How many people want to pay $50 to $70 for parking for basketball, which means every other night a lot of times? That's outrageous. And the tickets themselves, if you're not in the supporters section or in the wall deals, you're paying a lot of money. And that's in addition to obviously what you purchase at the game. It's like Clipper games are supposed to be affordable. That was the whole draw to all of us that did not end up being Laker fans that were in the local scene. And I know you have a new stadium, but Kawhi Leonard is out. People are not going to pay this much money to come on a nightly basis. Everyone loves the stadium. Like, there's no complaints about the stadium except for that the chargers don't work. But yeah, that's something to watch. If you're watching on TV and you're wondering why it's so empty, well, yeah, the Kawhi thing is relevant, but also you're charging a lot. Now, let's talk about the positives, right? The comeback Clips. Wow, what a fashion to get our first win at the Intuit Dome with a classic comeback Clips kind of performance. Never say die attitude. Coming back from 26 points down, including an absolutely horrific first quarter in this game in which we got outscored 40-14 to the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs, who are basically a rebuilding team. But we turned it around. And we outscored them in every single quarter after that. In the second quarter, we outscored them 34-16. In the third quarter, it was a lot more back and forth, 34-30. But we didn't fully regain the lead, or should I say take the lead, till the fourth quarter. Actually, no, I should say regain the lead because we were technically winning 3-2, but and 7-5. But that was about it after that. We trailed the rest of the way until the fourth quarter where Norman Powell made the three that gave us the lead, 93-91. 31-18 in the fourth quarter. Clippers winning at 113-104. The first quarter was a complete disaster. The worst first quarter or I should say not just the worst first quarter, the worst quarter of the season for us. Everything was going wrong. Nobody was playing defense, with James Harden standing out in particular. Besides that one possession where he had like 3 strips on the same possession, he did not play a lick of defense for most of the game. He was getting blown by left and right. He was just walking out there. He was not even rebounding like the last couple of games, where in the beginning of this season, James Harden has been really good about rebounding. In this game, he ended up getting 8, but in that first half, he had like 1. Norman Powell, he was not boxing out a soul. It was very evident. We were doing a better job on the offensive glass, mainly because Zubac was having like those possessions where he would tip it 3 times. And other guys were doing a good job of going for rebounds on the offensive glass, but we should never be doing better on the offensive glass than the defensive glass. We need to secure rebounds and end possessions, and we weren't doing that in the first quarter. And Chris Paul turned back the clock, and when you let him get to his right hand in the pick and roll, he can still hit that mid-range with no problem. And I knew he was potentially going to get hot when he hit that transition 3 to put them up 19-10, and after that, CP3 just went off. And in addition to that, offensively, none of our players could hit anything. Zubac was missing around the basket. Harden was doing absolutely nothing. Norman Powell hadn't gotten going. Terrence Mann actually had a decent start with 5 points. Then he was quiet the rest of the way. Second quarter, I'll tell you who changed the game. And for me, they're my standout when it comes to this comeback clip stuff on this particular night. The bench. The bench turned this game around. I thought Chris Dunn, Nico Batum, did a fantastic job when they came in that second quarter of just defending, of just putting more ball pressure on the Spurs players, not letting them get super comfortable in their sets. You know, that's what Nico and Chris Dunn can do. And we even saw Nico hit a 3. Did he hit 2 in this game or just 1? Let's check. Only 1. 1 for 3. He was 1 for 5 from the field, so he hasn't actually shot well to begin this season. He had 3 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists on 1 for 5 shooting and 1 for 3 from deep in 20 minutes. But we started to get going a bit in that second quarter, and it starts with our defense. You know, we only allowed 16 points. So that's what we can do. We get stops, we get out and run a little bit, push the pace a little bit more. It's very simple stuff. Now, in the first quarter, in addition to getting killed on the glass, letting CP3 go to his right hand, we had Zubac starting out guarding Jeremy Sohan and then having Derrick Jones Jr. guarding Wemby so we could switch any action and prevent that pick and pop. And also because Wemby doesn't do a very good job of taking advantage of size. You know, for how spectacular he is defensively, and he was completely shutting off the rim. 9 blocks in this game for Wemby. And watching him up close, I mean, geez, his size is unbelievable. You know, he is so lanky. It's crazy. But the thing I'll say about him is offensively, he just jacks. He's just like a KD wannabe. Just wants to shoot a bunch of jumpers, and we're very comfortable with that. He was shooting 22% from 3 heading into this game, and in the game, he shot 2 for 9. And every single time he caught the ball in those pick and pops, me and other people in the wall were just saying, like, keep on shooting. Like, we have no issue with that in any way. So we're going to live with that. But second half, as I said, the third quarter was funny because we cut it down to single digits, but then the Spurs got it back up to a 14-point lead. But slowly but surely, James Harden had a 3-ball. And then Norman Powell, how many times did he score with that curl to his right? That curl to his right is just our bread and butter right now. He gets something good going every single time, it looks like. I would love to see the points per possession on that. And then Ivica Zubac is part of it because he sets good screens. Now, for me, Amir Coffey, he was the player of the game. He spearheaded the run with those 2 big threes. I mean, he hit several big threes. But overall, the Clippers outscored the Spurs 99-64 in the final 3 quarters of the game. So, big time there. And Amir Coffey was a huge, huge part of it. 21 points for him on 8 for 10 shooting, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and he shot 5. Sorry, it goes down as only 1 steal in the official ESPN box score. But 8 for 10 from the field and 5 first 6 from 3 in 26 minutes. It's so funny because one game, it's Amir Coffey making boneheaded plays and looking like, I had fans coming up to me saying we should replace him in the rotation with Jordan Miller, and now he's the player of the game, winning us our first game at the Intuit Dome with an incredible shooting performance in that second half, knocking down his open threes and taking them with confidence. Terrence, I love you, but come on. Again, passing up shots. Chris Dunn even passes up shots. I mean, a lot of guys are just passing him up on threes and they catch and shoot. That's very frustrating to me considering we're not getting good shots. But Amir Coffey, I mean, what a solid performance from him, to say the least. Huge second half. And the Clippers taking it. First win at the Intuit Dome, 113-104. And you know, we make shots, we can set our defense, crowd gets going, and everything changes. Basketball is a simple game. If you get stops, your offense becomes easier. If you score, your defense becomes easier. It's not very hard in terms of describing things sometimes. But that's how it is. We got stops, we got on ran. When we can't get stops, then their defense gets to set, and we have to play half-court offense, and it's all because it all comes down to James Harden essentially making plays left and right. And I thought we did a really good job of feeding Zoo the ball and feeding Norman the ball throughout the game, and Harden just seemed to have more juice at the end to close. His between-the-legs crossover was looking really sharp even in the second half, and we haven't seen that much in those previous games where he was getting taxed and on the ball a lot in the first half. So nice to see that. A little bit of an adjustment there. As far as the Norman Harden staggering, that did take place in the second half, but Ty said before the game that he wasn't going to put them both on the bench. But for like 6 minutes from the end of the first to the middle of the second quarter, he did that, although it wasn't costly. But it's just funny that he said something and then totally lied about it essentially. But yeah, Harden and Norm were staggered in the second half, and we ended up winning the game 113-104. And coming up, going to go more in depth about the performance of Amir Coffey that led to the victory. I got to tell you a little something about Built. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Bill Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points toward a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by The Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Join built.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points with your rent payments today. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets for any event. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. And Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I used Game Time for the NLCS Game 1 for the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers, and it was pretty good, even the home opener for the Clippers. So last minute, Game Time could really be the move for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. So, Amir Coffey, what a performance. I had people talking to me after the game saying, this is going to be known as the Amir Coffey game. So, and by the way, how about the wall in the supporters section? I was definitely part of that, chanting coffee, coffee at the end of the game. Well deserved. And it's just amazing because we're in such close proximity to the court now compared to Staples Center that, like, that game was much louder than a lot of games at Staples Center that we had last year that were filled, that were sold out. So it's just the acoustics. It really is. And I'm listening to it on the highlights because I haven't gotten to watch the full game. Obviously, I just got home. I'm listening to it on the highlights, and it sounds so much louder than Staples Center. But Amir Coffey in the second half, he had 19 points on 7 for 8 shooting. So 19 of his 21 came in the second half. What a half for the Brewmaster. And I don't think he did anything out of the ordinary. I think his shots were falling and he was looking for his shot. And how about Chris Dunn? I think you can make a strong argument that he's been the most consistent player on the Clippers so far this season. He really brings it defensively every night, and he's been shooting the ball pretty well. In this game, he continued to shoot the ball well. 11 points, so great to see him in double figures, and even showing a little bit more off the bounce, which relieves Harden as well. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks, 0 turnovers. And I thought we did a much better job in this game of taking care of the ball. Just 10 turnovers for the team. The Spurs, 11 turnovers for the team. Spurs turned the ball over 14 times. The Spurs shot 44% from the field. We shot 45.6%, so very close there. But they shot just 27% from 3. A lot of the bricks coming from Wemby. And finally, we had a very good three-point shooting game. I don't think we're a very good three-point shooting team this year, but we were due for better than what we were getting, and we got it. 19 for 37. 51% from deep. So that's definitely part of the reason that we won, but we're also generating a lot of good shots. And who does that come from? Definitely James Harden. But someone else that I think deserves a lot of credit is Ivica Zubac. I'll be talking a little bit more about him in the next segment. But, man, let's see. The Spurs actually had 12 more points in the paint than us, which isn't surprising considering we did hit 8 more threes. Free throw wise, they shot 17 for 19 from the field. From the line. We shot 12 for 17. And I have to say, Wemby gets away with a lot of calls, a lot of fouls. He's hacking at the rim. They don't call anything because he's the Lord and Savior of the NBA that they've promoted. And by the way, I like Wemby, but I just think the hype for him is a little too much because offensively, he's just a big shooter. He can do some amazing things sometimes, but it's not consistent throughout a game. Defensively, he's incredible. I don't think he's better than Anthony Davis defensively because I think AD's stronger and has done it on the bigger stage. But Wemby is probably the best shot blocker in the league. I mentioned Anthony Davis because I think he's the best defender in the league. And I also think, I don't know, is Wemby a better defender than Rudy Gobert? We're not talking potential. I'm talking right now because I think he was shutting off the rim. But a lot of his good defensive plays were against Zubac trying to hit jump hooks over him in the low post in pick and rolls. I think AD and Gobert seem to minimize your options a little better, but I've also seen them on the bigger stages. So I'm more adamant about the AD thing. If you want to argue Wemby over Gobert defensively, I don't have much pushback there, but Gobert's resume defensively speaks for itself. Anthony Davis, I get to watch him every single night because he's on local television. I think he's the best defender in the league. But Zubac, his matchup with Wemby was very interesting, but one thing I found interesting was that, as I said in the beginning of the game, we were going with Derrick Jones Jr. guarding Wemby and then switching everybody on him, essentially. Having Zubac guard a non-shooter in Jeremy Sohan to come help. But I don't think they like that because we were getting crushed on the glass. And then in the second half, we saw some Zoo coming out higher on those pick and rolls to take away Chris Paul's jump shot, but also a lot of that late switch action, which means that Zubac would stay on Chris Paul and we'd have Chris Dunn or Norm, whoever it was, guarding Wemby. And the reason why that works is because Wemby's not going to take advantage of size. He's going to rarely catch the ball in the post. The times that he does, he ends up creating a better shot for his team anyway. And yeah, like that pick and pop that they were running We weren't even fully rotating a guy some of the times because we live with him shooting that three. So when we get the switch and he doesn't do anything, and it's Chris Paul isoing at 40 years old damn near against Zoo, I know Chris Paul. I know Chris Paul's game as much as anybody that's ever played basketball. You know, him and LeBron James are the two players I've seen the most, and then Kobe after that. Probably Blake after Kobe. CP3, even with us in his prime, when he gets a big switched onto him, he wants to make them think that he's going to go downhill, and then he pulls it to that left. He pulls back to his left for that three. He did that. Zoo did a really good job getting a hand up in that second half, and I thought we did a very successful job of switching 1 through 5 at times, which we don't see from Zubac much. We see a lot of just straight drop coverage, but because Chris Paul's historically a drop coverage killer and was even doing it in the first half of this game, we were okay with that switch. Wemby, not really taking advantage of size. He finished with 24 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 9 blocks, and 2 turnovers. But he was 9 for 22 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3, and 4 for 4 for the foul line. We'll take that all day. CP3 had a very solid game. It felt like every time he came out, we made a run. He had a plus 10 plus minus. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists for him, 2 steals, but 4 turnovers. And if you remember, CP3 is the king of not turning the ball over. We got him to turn it over 4 times, got him to jump pass, and one of those times, I'm pretty sure it was Ivica Zubac guarding him, and he thought he had separation, and he didn't. He jumped past and turned it over. 6 for 11 from the field for him, 2 for 7 from 3. But yeah, really solid win for the Clippers. And Harrison Barnes, who played 38 minutes, was held to 4 shot attempts and 4 points. So we'll absolutely take that, because I'm not saying Harrison Barnes is some star, but he can definitely get some buckets. But moral of the story, Amir Coffey, just spectacular performance. The bench sparked everything. We went 10 deep again. Kai Jones, again, only played in the first half and played 4 minutes and had a donut and had 1 block, and that was about it. I mean, it's interesting that Ty goes from playing Kai a little bit to going small in the second half when Zoo's out. But I like that we've been leaning into Zoo. And coming up, going to talk more about that and his incredible duel with Wemby and all the highlight plays it produced. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And FanDuel doesn't just give you NFL odds. You can also check out the NBA odds. And right now, SGA is a favorite for MVP. So before the season, I believe it was Luka, but now it's SGA. As far as Defensive Player of the Year, Chet Holmgren has closed that gap with Wemby, but Wemby is the favorite still. LaMelo Ball for Most Improved. Okay, that's weird. Anyway, I wouldn't bet on that at all. But where can you find this? Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I got to tell you a little something about Hims. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Hims is changing men's health care by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. And if you get prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right, so let's talk about Zubac, because it was a very eventful game for Zoo. Of course, Clippers coming back from 26 points down, 40-14 after the first. I was about to come on this show and go ballistic. I was going to rage, vintage dime dropper style. But comeback Clips had a plan for me and the rest of Clipper Nation as we go to 3-4 on the season now. 1-4 at home. Hopefully we'll add to that. Nice to hear that California love plan at the end of the game. As you know, that signifies a Clipper W. Now, part of that Clipper W was Ivica Zubac. And in the beginning of the game, he was missing a bunch of tips, missing a bunch of chippies, and you better believe, and it wasn't just true for Zoo, that was partially the Victor Wembanyama effect. He was affecting so many shots around the basket, getting guys to jump past and kick out because they thought they could go up and have a layup, but they were like, oh shit, we're about to get blocked, so I'm going to kick it out. He caused turnovers. He caused missed shots. And the times that Zoo would post him up and he would try to use his strength because he's so much stronger, he would get that good position and then he would put up the jump hook and just get swatted. And he made a comment after the game, you got to try to go dunk on him because if you float it up over him, he'll block it. And that was true. So for a while, Wemby was kind of owning Zoo on the interior, just defending him so well. Not saying he was scoring on Zoo a ton, and Zoo wasn't even guarding him half the time. But then later in the game, and I think it begins with Ty Lue and the coaching staff continuing to trust Zoo. Even though he wasn't shooting super well, we kept feeding him as the game went on. And I noticed that as the game went on, Zoo, when he caught the ball, would wait a little bit. He'd be a little bit more patient, which at times you want to get him to go to work before the double comes. But there were instances where the Spurs were sending over help when they probably didn't need to. And Zoo was doing a really good job of finding the open man there and really growing out of that post in terms of as a passer. There was one time where KPJ had a really nice cut and Zoo found him. And I have to say, I thought KPJ, and I saw a lot of mixed tweets about him in this game, and I've been very harsh on him so far. I thought he was better in this game. While he didn't shoot very well, he was 3 for 10 and 0 for 2 from 3. He had 6 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and I thought he played very solid defense. He had some good moments on the ball, and he had some good moments off the ball defensively. So, better performance from him. I do feel bad for Bones Highland, though, who was super enthusiastic during the whole comeback, and I just feel as though it's been hard done by since he became a Clipper. But KPJ, one of his better games for me to rebound, tied for our second most rebounds on the team after Zoo, and then led our team in assists for the night, even more than James Harden. Sorry. I would delete that, but I was doing my best San Antonio Spurs impression on the night. Because, boy, I know a 26-point lead isn't safe in today's NBA, but, man, that was a brutal way to lose, to say the least. Zoo in the game finished 6 for 17. But he threw it down on Wemby twice. After Wemby threw it down on him on a crazy lob, Zoo answered with a left-handed sledgehammer over Wemby. And then later in the game, that dunk with Wemby on his back, that brought the freaking house down. But if we want to talk about like the big plays of the game, I'd say that Zubac's dunk, the Norman Powell go-ahead 3, and of course, the Coffey consecutive threes. James Harden's 4-point play was massive as well. I thought it was great to see James Harden be able to close the game a little better. He absolutely, even though he didn't have one of his better games of the season, was very instrumental to closing the door. And he was very efficient in this game and not looking for a shot as much, not as on ball. So maybe that's the key. I don't know. And there's going to be games where we're going to need more from James on ball, but less is more sometimes. I think a lot of NBA players and fans don't understand that. And again, it is the Spurs, so we'll see what's required at least, on Wednesday against Philly. 17 points for James in this game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, which is a season low, 1 steal, 3 blocks. I think they all were on that same possession. Just 2 turnovers, so again, better job taking care of the ball these last 2 games from James. You like to see that. He had just 2 turnovers against the Thunder on Saturday night as well, so you absolutely like seeing him take care of the ball there. And then in this game, shot 60%, 6 for 10 from the field, and 60% from 3, 3 for 5. But I don't understand what's up with his free throws so far this season. 2 for 4 from the line for him, which is very uncharacteristic. But I have to say, and James Harden has been good, of course, this season, but Norman Powell, he's been our best player this season for me. He's been so good. And I know he doesn't do much defensively, but now that it's Harden, I know, like, because Zubac, obviously rebounding and defense, he does it all. And by the way, even though he was 6 for 17 from the field, he was 5 for 5 from the foul line tonight, Zubac, and he had 17 and 13. So that feels like more of a focal point when he has a bad shooting game and he still gets a double-double. 17 points, 13 boards, 4 assists, and played 37 minutes. So we're starting to see the 30-plus minute thing is a no-brainer for Ty Lue. He's playing him over 30 minutes, and I always said if he averages 30-plus minutes, he'll average a double-double. He's sleepwalking to that this year. Now, Norm, for me, has been our best player. He was our leading scorer in this game. I mentioned Amir Coffey with his 21 points and 6 boards. He was a team high and a game high, plus 34, Amir Coffey. Chris Dunn was a plus 24. Nico plus 12, Kevin Porter Jr. plus 14. Again, not super high on single game plus minus, but I'm giving you that stat to tell you that the bench was so much better in this game. Norman Powell, 23 points, 1 rebound. So again, doesn't box out. I love him, but he doesn't box out. 3 assists, 3 steals, just 1 turnover on 7 for 15 shooting and 5 for 8 from 3. And 4 of 5 from the foul line in 34 minutes. The guy just finds a way to put the ball in the basket. That curl to his right is money. He's aggressive, and he's such a great shooter. He's definitely worth $19 million. Like, come on. Now, as I've mentioned basically everybody's stat line except for Terrence and Derek. Terrence, I thought he started well, but defensively, nothing to talk about really on this show. And he's still passing up shots, even though he was shooting 50% from the field in 3. So honestly, I'm getting very tired of that because how many years are we going to say this with him? He's my favorite player on the team. I love how all in on the Clippers he is. But if he does not shoot the ball with confidence, by all means, we're going to have that same conversation. And I guarantee you a lot of the comments of this video are going to be saying the same thing. We always go through this cycle when Terrence struggles and Amir plays well, that Amir's better than Terrence. And the one thing I'll say about him is he's a better shooter and he's a more confident shooter. But Terrence, when he starts hitting his shots and the confidence goes up, he plays at a level that I don't think Amir Coffey quite gets to. But we haven't seen that so far this season. And I think Terrence's plus-minus being a team worst is not super indicative of how he was playing, because I thought in the beginning of the game he was the only player that offensively seemed to do anything in that starting lineup. But he was a minus 20. And I think partially it's because defensively he didn't do much. Derrick Jones Jr., not as bad as last game, of course. He did score in double figures, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists to go along with a block. And he also only had 1 turnover. Terrence had 0 turnovers, so it's nice to see your role players not contributing to the turnover problem. But Derrick didn't shoot too well, 4 for 10 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. But I think his effort is always good, and without his defense, I don't think we'd be the same team. He played 22 minutes. We closed with Dunn and Coffey in this game, with Harden, Norman, Zoo. So I think that can be fluid. Whoever's playing better on a given night should close. Amir and Chris Dunn were those guys. But Chris Dunn's been so consistent that he might have to just close games, period. I've been so impressed with him. So a really good win. 26 points down. It's nice to see the comeback clips. But I have to say the attendance thing is very worrisome. Like the parking situation is really, really tough. It's really bad. And I think, we got to be an affordable alternative to the Lakers. That's what we built ourselves on, being the best deal in basketball. Tickets are amazing, but that stuff is tough. And I'm going to do an episode. I'm not even going to talk about it in this episode, but I'm going to do an episode on Wednesday about Paul George and what his return means. But you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel where a video of this comeback and the atmosphere inside the building, what fans are saying about Chris Paul and other things as well, will be on my YouTube channel, Dime Dropper. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let me know what you thought of the game and the episode. The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers.